Good evening. The Jackson Public School Board meeting is now called to order. Board members, we have 5 members present, and actually we have 6. We have 5 members in the boardroom. Dr. Luckett is on the line. We all have had, and therefore we have a quorum. We've all had an opportunity to review the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Mr. Figurs has second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next on the agenda is the approving of the minutes. Board members, we haven't had an opportunity to review the minutes in advance. Is there a motion to approve the June 23rd and July 14th special board meeting minutes as presented?
I so move. Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is approved. Now we're on the superintendent's report. Thank you, Dr. Green.
Thank you, Dr. Sivak. Good evening, board members. Good evening to the JPS family and all of our community members. We'll begin, as we typically do, with our latest news from the instructional television team.
Jackson Public Schools is calling on all parents to begin registering their new or returning scholars for the 2022-2023 school year. They can begin the registration process by visiting our website at www.jackson.k12.ms.us. Parents should click on the Enrollment tab. This tab will prompt the enrollment and registration site. Select the enrollment type from the following sections: new student registration, returning student registration, pre-K student registration, or kindergarten student registration. Please follow the directions under the selected tab. For a complete list of required documents for registration or for more information, please call 601-960-8852 during normal business hours. The first day of school for scholars is August 8th. JPS is seeking volunteers for its all-hands-on-deck beautification day to be held Friday, July 29th from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. All interested volunteers can sign up by visiting the JPS website. Participants will help teachers set up classrooms, enhance school entrances, and clean up school grounds. For more information, please contact Thea Faulkner at 601-960-8905 during normal business hours, or via email at tfaulkner@jackson.k12.ms.us. We are happy to welcome 4 new principals for the upcoming school year. Each one has demonstrated a love for education and a passion for providing quality learning to our scholars. Dr. Teresa Barnes will lead Blackburn Middle School. Candace Beasley is the new administrator for Cardozo Middle School. Dr. Jamita Carter will take over at Pecan Park Elementary. And Ashley Molden is our new leader for the JPS Tougaloo Early College High School. Congratulations to them all for their new roles for next school year. The district's mobile app is available and can help parents get the registration process started. You can also get access to news, the district's directory, and much more. Download it on Google Play and from the Apple App Store. Search for Jackson Public Schools. For more information about Jackson Public Schools, please visit our website at www.jackson.k12.ms.us. Follow us on Facebook at Jackson Public Schools, on Twitter at JPS District, and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/JPSITV.
As always, we want to thank the team for providing those updates to us. Just want to underscore a couple of things. One, the beautification day that's scheduled for next Friday, the 29th. Board members, if you're available, of course, for all of the community members who might be listening or paying attention to the board meeting tonight, if they're available and wanting to help us out, please just ask you to contact Thea Faulkner. You can go to our website, I believe, to get a link to the beautification day and be routed to Ms. Faulkner. But it's such a wonderful event. It's such a nice way to partner with the school-based teams, specific teachers, or with school leaders and various projects that are happening. Typically, there's some gardening or flower planting, there's some painting or setting up bulletin boards, all sorts of things that we have done in the past. And so we're just excited to be doing that again and preparing for the start of school. Y'all, school is starting soon. It's almost that time. It's like, didn't we just close school? Yeah, we're about to reopen school. So excited about that. Excited about the new team members, some of whom you saw there, our 4 new school leaders that were listed as well. And we didn't have it in the reel, and it didn't even occur to me until a little while ago. Mr. Burke, Earl Burke, who's our new COO, he has started. He's dove in feet first, working with Ms. Purnell on the finance and budgeting side, and all of the operations folks on that side, just really working hard to get up to speed and to really begin to contribute in that work. And so we're excited to have him. He unfortunately is at home he's having to be at home this week on leave, and so he's with us online, but we're glad to have him on the team, and looking forward to continuing to work with him. So board members, creating thoughtful and detailed plans is critical to our success in the new school year. And so in the spring of each year, as you know, and we often will share with you, we begin or launch our preparations, our opening with excellence, planning and preparations for the next school year. Again, we title it Opening with Excellence, trying to set the bar for what the school opening should look like, what scholars should experience, what families should experience, what our team members should experience, all of the things that we can anticipate for the opening of school, seeking to plan for those, prepare for those, so that those things that we can address, that we do, and knowing that there will be things that we couldn't possibly have foreseen, and so that we have time and space and capacity to deal with those. And so we look closely at our budgeting, our instructional programming, all of the digital tools and equipment that aligns with our various instructional programs, enrollment, of course, our hiring and staffing, all of the facilities, projects and needs, our transportation, and other aspects of our district functioning, to determine what is working in the in the current year or the year past, and where we have room for and opportunities for growth. And during the summer months, again, as you know, our team works tirelessly to ready school buildings, to receive our scholars by completing various general maintenance and a variety of construction projects. There's tons of professional development that happens over the course of the summer. We actually have 2 leadership institutes, one at the end of the year to kind of close out and reflect and kind of set ourselves up for some of the work that's happening over the summer, and then another. In fact, the second leadership institute for this year begins tomorrow. And it'll be Wednesday through Friday. And so that's the picking up on what we began at the start of the summer, and continuing the work, the planning, and the readiness for welcoming the team back, and of course welcoming our scholars back. So lots of work that happens over the course of the summer, and I know that's not lost on y'all with all the contracts that we're bringing to you. Thank you so much in advance. All the contracts that we bring to you for new work and partnerships and new resources that we seek to utilize in the coming year. Thankfully, with regard to our facilities, we're finalizing most of our bond projects, and we can focus more on the ESSER-funded facilities enhancements that we've planned and that we're launching. Any of the projects that we, based on previous experiences of, frankly, biting off in many cases more than we could chew in terms of those facilities projects. But any of the projects that we have on tap or in process, for this year, whether they're bond projects, ESSER funded, or just some of the routine facilities enhancements, any of those projects, we have made it very clear to our team members that they need to be complete at the end of this month or the very first of August, in those first few days, allowing us time to clean up and prepare for our staff members to come back in. You may or may not recall, but in the effort to get so many projects done over the summer, which is the most opportune time for us, oftentimes we start to run up against the timeline for school reopening, and we oftentimes have had to displace teachers from their classrooms, and they're not able to get in and to get started on prepping their classrooms, or even some of the professional development or team meetings at the start of the year. So we've been pretty clear with our vendors, with those who are, and our partners, those who are completing those projects or working on those projects over the summer, as well as our internal team members, that we need to be turning these buildings back over to the school-based teams so that they can start off strong and without the stress of being displaced and all those sorts of things. So we're excited to be moving towards turning those buildings over and completing those projects. We pushed ourselves to prioritize, so there's lots of things that need to be done, and a smaller number of things that absolutely must be done. And we've tried to prioritize and do those things so that and put other projects in queue as we move into the year to be worked on after hours or on weekends. And so just thankful to the team for all the just the leadership and the thoughtfulness and how we've approached those projects, and just trying to minimize disruptions to schools. Also, as part of the Opening with Excellence, we annually we monitor our enrollment numbers and our staffing vacancies, and so we're maintaining sound and updated enrollment projections that allow us to plan more effectively for necessary staffing, and for other resourcing that we do for the school year. We are, as of today, just sharing some of the enrollment numbers with you. Our projection, our grand total projection for this school year is just over 19,000 scholars. As of today, we have 6,800 applications submitted, and our team is kind of working through those with families to get them processed and all. As compared to last year, I was concerned just a few days ago we were 1,000 off. There was a 1,000, there's a difference of about 1,000 scholars from where we were last year and where we were this year. Well, as of today, there's a difference of about 400 or so scholars, 300 plus scholars in terms of those that have been enrolled for this year. And so our teams are reaching out to families, and we're hosting various events to try to get families in. We had some haircuts and headbands, I think it was, an event over the weekend and yesterday, Monday. Yep. While it wasn't, we didn't have a ton of people coming through in attendance, and, these kinds of projects and these kinds of efforts are some of the creative ways, especially focused on our early childhood scholars, but creative ways to try to get folks in and get them enrolled. And so just wanted to share those numbers with you as we continue marching. And they exponentially increase day by day, week by week, as we march towards the start of school, and it's been our experience in years past that typically many of our families will wait until closer to the start of the school year to enroll. With regard to staffing and vacancies, this year at this time we have 305 vacancies that we're working towards. You see the numbers that we have shared for August of really the start of school of 20 and of 21, those numbers being less than where we are now, but our team is continuing to work through those vacancies. As well, we're continuing, as I said before, to monitor enrollment to ensure that if there's a need to adjust those vacancies or adjust staffing, that we don't fill those vacancies, if we see that there's not a need based on enrollment. So that's a continued work that our team does just to make sure that those two line up, our enrollment and staffing. And again, we'll continue to monitor those and adjust as necessary over the course of the next few weeks and even after school starts. And this is something that is common practice for us, just to make sure that we're being as responsive as we need to be. With that, Dr. Sivak, board members, I'm going to complete and conclude my remarks here, see if there are any questions for me or the team with regard to what we shared. But I do obviously want to leave as much time as possible for some of the items that we will be presenting to you this evening. Are there any questions about any of that I've shared or remarked on?
I just had one question, Dr. Green, and it was specifically in reference to the bond projects and ESER projects. I know there's been questions at the board level about an advisory committee update, and just wanted to check on the status of that.
Yes, I don't have an update for you now. I will speak with, in fact, I may have that for the special board meeting, or the special board meeting that we've scheduled with you. I should have some update as to where we stand with that. Just to to clarify and remind everyone, our thinking is that we maintain some semblance of the bond oversight committee to support, advise, and to help with communications around the many ESER funded projects going forward, and likely some other projects that are not funded through ESER, but many of those being expanded learning spaces and HVAC systems, which will be the lion's share of the funds that we spend around facilities on HVAC systems. I know we've punted that, and so I'll commit to and ask the team to remind me to ensure that we have that update for you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Green.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, board members. Well, the next item on the agenda is public participation. Attorney Turner, do we have any public comments? No. Okay. So I'll just remind people that community members who would like to make public comments should email their requests to Ms. Rosalind Williams at roswilliams@jackson.k12.ms.us no later than 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, or appear in person in the boardroom no later than 5:15 on the day of the board meeting. The board definitely takes these into consideration and looks forward to hearing community input. So board members, next we'll move on to board member reports. We do have one report today. The first meeting in July, we're required to provide an update on our training as a board, and I'm excited to announce that all 7 board members have completed the required training by the Mississippi School Board Administration, Mississippi School Board Association. That's 6 hours of continuing ed. I am going to lift up one of our board members. So as a board, we have sat for 104 hours of training. There is one board member who has sat for half of that at 52 hours. And so let's just give Barbara Hilliard a hand for carrying the water over the board. Again, this is, the board, I just want to thank all the board members for completing all their training. I know all of us have other things. Anyways, it's part of our service, and it's something that is part of being an effective board member. And again, I just want to express appreciation to all 6 board members for finishing. And we'll be back at it. Clock's ticking. So Ms. Williams, keep on us to get our 6 hours in. I see that she gave us a schedule. So thank you for helping us proceed with what we need to do. All right, well, next we'll move on.
Could I just say, to make sure that how important it is, Ms. Hilliard's participation at the state and national level with our board work.
Yeah, that's a
It
good
really
point.
requires a lot of personal time and a lot of thought and travel sometimes, maybe since COVID, not so much. But as somebody who really knows, I feel you, Barbara, and you make us all look good when you show up and speak up and do that on that state and national level.
Here, here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison, and well stated.
I'm missing one now, because there were other things that I could not get my schedule to working to be at the regional
Oh, yeah, right.
in
Right.
New Orleans.
Right. No, well, look,
Yeah.
you deserve a break from your work.
All right, board members. Well, we have a very long agenda tonight. I don't know if I've ever seen it go through the letter U, but I think what we will do, unless there is any objection, is let's hold off on voting until the end. Obviously, let's go through and have the information presented, and then we'll take it all up at the end. If there are any issues, we can certainly pull those and just flag them as we go. So with that, we will start with the request to approve the agreement between the Mississippi Department of Employment Security, Accelerate Mississippi, and the Jackson Public School District. Dr. Green, I believe you're going to present this information.
Yes, the district administration is asking the board of trustees to approve a memorandum of understanding, a memorandum of agreement between the Mississippi Department of Education Employment Security, Accelerate Mississippi, and Jackson Public Schools for the establishment of the Accelerate Mississippi Defense Manufacturing Community Consortium. This MOA will support ensuring that students have visibility into manufacturing careers. And so this is an offer that was made to all districts by members of this consortium with an eye towards the defense manufacturing community and opportunities there, and what seems to be and what we anticipate as increased opportunities for our scholars to tap into and take advantage of careers in that area. So this is an agreement that we're required to sign to enter this consortium.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Green. Board members, any questions about this opportunity? Okay, hearing none, we will invite Dr. Knowles to come up and present items B through D. These are several requests to approve. They're renewal requests. The first two will be for Alcorn State University, our student teaching. The second will be with Mississippi College. And the third is the approval of a renewal agreement between EduStars LLC and the Jackson Public School District. Dr. Knowles.
All right. Good evening, Dr. Green, Board President CVAC, and members of the board. The administration has submitted for approval the renewal agreement between Alcorn State University and the Jackson Public School District to provide or to continue to provide placement for student teachers and teacher interns within the Jackson Public School District. Should I read the other items? Okay.
Keep going.
For item C, we've submitted for approval the renewal agreement between Mississippi College and the Jackson Public School District to provide placement for student teachers and teacher interns within the Jackson Public School District. And then item C, we have submitted for approval the renewal agreement between EduStars LLC and the Jackson Public School District to continue to provide praxis support in critical subject areas to assist JPS employees with meeting certification requirements.
Thank you, Dr. Knowles. Board members, are there any questions? Hearing none. Dr. Knowles, I just have one, and it's around the placements, and it looks like you're able to, first of all, thanks for the information on the placements. Is it right that we've gotten 147 teachers from these student teaching relationships?
Well, we've had 147 student teacher placements. So
Okay.
of all of the combined universities that we have agreements with for internship placements, last year we had 147. And of the
Okay.
147, 28 of those individuals have signed on to teach for Jackson Public School District for this upcoming school year.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
Right?
Thank you. No, I was excited. I appreciate you sharing that information, and it's great to see some of our. I mean, that's a what?
So
20%.
What I didn't include is that we already have 83 from Jackson State University that are slated to return to finish their placement from this past spring to complete the year-long requirement. And so we're already in the process of assigning cooperating teachers for those students. Many of them will be returning to the same instructors. So there's just some mild movement that we need to make sure that everybody is covered. But we're well on the way of starting the school year off with our student teachers to make sure that we're providing those experiences for them.
Great.
Yeah, I just think that's wonderful, the work you're doing and all the team and what it takes to get young folk to see how they can be a professional with JPS and love and serve our children and communities, and to get that kind of interest, and especially in partnerships with our universities. So it's just a blessing. And here again, just thank you and your team for this work.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Board members, I'll just add to that. We won't try to enumerate all the various ways that Dr. Knowles and Dr. Cormack and others have worked to build the actual relationships, not just transactional, but true relationships with those organizations. I'll specifically call out the relationship with Jackson State. It makes sense. But they have, their leadership and the coordinator for the student teachers has been very present with us in our district at our events. We've had easy and thoughtful engagement with those student teachers, and so there's a real effort to not only provide them with the student teaching experience, but to cultivate those relationships and make it much easier for those individuals to join us. And I should also say much harder for them to resist joining us. That's really what's being done. So just wanted to underscore that work.
Thanks, Dr. Green. And Dr. Knowles, on the EduStars, I thought the evaluation data was great, and just wondered if you could share a little bit some of the numbers that you shared with us, with the public, around just the effectiveness of this program for moving our teachers towards certification and passing of the praxis in particular.
Absolutely. So last school year, we had 150 slots allocated to provide praxis support in partnership with EduStars, mainly in the areas of early childhood education, elementary education, and special education. And of the 150 slots, we actually serviced 142 teachers. So 68 teachers participated during the fall semester, and then we had 72 that participated this past spring. And so from the fall alone, we tested 68, 64 of them have passed. And so they've passed those tests. Many of them have obtained certification, or we're working with MDE to make sure that the endorsements that they're now eligible for can be added, which of course gives us an opportunity to be able to retain them, offer them contracts to work as teachers in those hard to fill areas or those critical areas within the district. Of the 72 that we serviced in the spring, many of them are still testing or awaiting score reports to be returned, but the 43 that have reported, 38 of them have passed. And so we're already, we were in conversation with EduStars over the summer for the ones who did not pass. They were willing to provide remediative support for those individuals. And then with some of the funds we had remaining from our previous agreement, we were also able to support them with retesting to help them get what they need in order to pass those tests. So it's been very productive. And, you should talk to the teachers. They're extremely ecstatic because many of them who have been trying for years to be able to overcome this hurdle of passing those exams are actually able to see some light at the end of the tunnel now, and it's having an impact on us being able to staff our schools in those critical areas.
That's great, and a really strong use of data around the effectiveness of a program. So thank you very much. All right, board members. Next, Dr. Bingham Gibbs will present items E through G, the approval of an agreement between Mill Creek Schools and McGee, and the approval of a renewal agreement between Mississippi Department of Rehabilitation Services and the Jackson Public School District, and the approval of a renewal agreement between Crossroads Day Treatment and the Mississippi Department, by the Mississippi Department of Rehabilitative Services in the Jackson Public School District. Dr. Bingham Gibbs.
Good evening, Dr. Green, Board President, Board members. The Office of Exceptional Education Services is presenting for approval the collaborative renewal agreement with Mill Creek Schools and McGee to provide an eligible child placement facility for students eligible for exceptional education services. The next one that I'm presenting is with the Mississippi Department of Rehabilitative Services and the Jackson Public School District. This is a renewal collaborative agreement. We are collaborating on the planning for the provision of a seamless services or transition from secondary school to post-secondary education, training, and employment for scholars with disabilities. Lastly, the Office of Exceptional Education Services is presenting for review the renewal agreement with the Crossroads Day Treatment Facilities to provide an eligible child placement facility for scholars eligible for exceptional education services.
Thank you, Dr. Bingham Gibbs. Board members, are there any questions? Dr. Bingham Gibbs, just briefly, could you share the numbers around how many students we have, how many we had last year with these different providers?
Okay. At Mill Creek and McGee, we had one scholar. And then at Crossroads, we did not have any scholars to need this service. However, we like to have it available in case they need a more restrictive environment. And then with Mississippi Department of Rehabilitative Services, we had 30 scholars to take advantage of these services.
Great, thank you. All right, if there's no other questions, we'll continue to move on. We'll invite Ms. Amanda Thomas, who will present items H and I, the request to approve an agreement between Northtown Pharmacy and the request to approve the renewal agreement between the Institute for Southern Jewish Life and the Jackson Public School District.
I think she was hands. I apologize. She was trying to have some data. Good evening, Board President, CVAC, board members, and Dr. Green, as well as audience. The administration presents to the board for information item approval of an agreement between Northtown Pharmacy and the Jackson Public School District. The purpose of this agreement is to establish a working relationship between Northtown Pharmacy in order to provide preventive health care services, including flu vaccinations, immunization maintenance, COVID testing, screening, treatments, and evaluations to all students in Jackson Public School District. Services will be provided through a mobile pharmacy clinic, and in order for service to be provided, we will obtain parental or legal guardian consent. Due to Northtown Pharmacy being a provider with the Mississippi Department of Health, we were able to utilize them this year, and they administered over 400 COVID-19 vaccinations to students and staff, and also they administered some Tdap vaccinations to our middle school scholars. The next item is a renewal agreement between the Institute of Southern Jewish Life and Jackson Public Schools. This agreement aims to continue the established and guided working relationship between ISJL and Jackson Public School District. We will continue our efforts to empower students to resolve conflicts with the use of conflict peer mediation programs. And these mediation services will be provided at Callaway High School, Jim Hill High School, Wingfield High School, Blackburn Middle School, Kirksey Middle School, and Witten Middle School. I do want to note that from the fall of 2019 to spring 2021, we had 84 new mediators that were inducted. with 65 of them being in 2019 and 19 of them in 2021, as well as 74 mediations were conducted and logged by our student mediators.
All right, board members, are there any questions?
I have a question. I did attend your program. I thought it was really a nice program. And you have, what, 6 schools that you work? Is it 6?
That's correct. And our agreement does state that this year, in each year, we're able to add another, actually feeder pattern. So actually we'll be adding 2 more schools, and I have been in conversation with the assistant superintendents about which feeder pattern that may be.
Okay. Huh.
So we will be able to add 2 more schools this
Yeah,
year.
that's what I wanted
Yes,
to know,
ma'am.
if you were adding schools. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, board members, we will move on. Next, we will invite Dr. Samisha Stokes, who's the Executive Director of the Office of Innovative Strategies. She will be sharing information about the request to approve the renewal agreement with AmeriCorps and the Jackson Public School District.
Let me take one down.
And Dr. Stokes, did I say your first name correctly?
You did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure.
President Sivak, board members, Superintendent Dr. Green, and our JPS community. The administration presents for approval a renewal of the project agreement with Reading and Math Incorporated, a division of AmeriCorps. Reading Corps serves students in grades K-3 one-on-one for 20 minutes daily. Math Corps serves students in grades 4 through 8 in groups of 2 to 3 for 90 minutes a week. AmeriCorps' overall target was to serve 270 students in grades K-3 reading and 360 students in 4A math. In addition, the goal was to recruit 15 math corps and 15 reading corps tutors. Analyzing the data before you as you look at the end-of-year data report that you've received, 217 students were served in reading and 13 tutors recruited. Of those students served, 136 received at least 6 weeks of tutoring. Of these 136 students, 57% exceeded target growth. In other words, 78 students exceeded target growth weekly. 351 students were served in math, and 12 tutors were recruited. Of those students served, 100 received at least 12 weeks of tutoring and had at least 2-star scores. And of these, 55% exceeded target growth. In other words, 55 students exceeded target weekly growth. Most students exceeded the program's target growth, which means while they were receiving support, the students were growing at a rate exceeding 1 year's worth of learning. And again, that's 57% for reading corps and 55% for math corps, respectively. We do expect more students to meet the program's growth expectations this school year because we anticipate having more tutors start their service at the beginning of the school year, presumably that being August the 15th. We also expect student growth to improve everyone, as everyone involved in the program, from the program coaches, the staff, the school staff, as they gain more experience implementing the model. I would like to leave with you an anecdotal expression that was shared with us from Jamie Prophets, who is the interventionist who served as the internal coach for the reading corps and math corps. Mr. Prophets did help to select the students that were tested for the program. He helped to design student schedules, and he answered questions that the tutors had as related to the students at the school. Well, when asked about his experience at Johnson Elementary, he stated, and I quote, "Johnson Elementary really did benefit from the assistance of our AmeriCorps tutors. The assistance provided really gave our lower grade teachers an additional boost in helping with phonics skills. The program that AmeriCorps used to determine placement and track progress made sure that each session was targeted to the student's specific area of weakness. The use of manipulatives and the smaller group setting was much more conducive for those struggling learners. He ends with, our team of AmeriCorps tutors were dedicated to seeing our students grow, and they easily collaborated with the teachers at Johnson to address issues and provide guidance. They were instrumental in the growth seen and will be celebrated at the school. In the end, the reading tutors at Johnson began in September 2021 as part-time members, and they served third grade students who passed the third grade reading assessment. So kudos to Johnson Elementary. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Stokes. Board members, any questions or comments? Go ahead, Ms. Hilliard.
Question. This is the first year for this program?
That is correct.
Okay. A lot of progress was made here. Huh? That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very impressive. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo, again, another great use of data in terms of just looking at the effectiveness of the program. One question I would have is, will we align this resource with the schools targeted for improvement? So, okay, I'm seeing Dr. Cormack nod his head. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, thank you, Dr. Stokes.
Thank you.
Well, never mind. That's all right. It's not major.
All right, next, I believe Mrs. Marshall Thomas will present items K through M. The first is the request to approve a job description for the high school dean of students. The next is the request to approve the renewal agreement between the Jobs for Mississippi Graduates and the Jackson Public School District. And the third is a request to approve the renewal agreement between the Henley Young Juvenile Justice Center and the Jackson Public School District. Mrs. Marshall Thomas.
Great evening, everyone. Dr. Sivak, board members, Dr. Green. The administration is requesting approval of the job description of the high school dean of students in Jackson Public Schools to support the high school's academic and behavior programs. The dean of students is a professional and licensed educator who will work with the principal to address and support the challenges presented by our diverse student population. The dean of students provides proactive leadership to engage all stakeholders in delivering programs and services to support the students' academic achievement and personal and social development. The dean of students works cooperatively with the principal, the counselor, staff, students, and parents toward a positive school climate and the students' overall success. The administration also requests approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between Jobs for Mississippi Graduates and the Jackson Public School District. Under the terms of this MOU, J&G will provide school-to-work training for selected students at all 7 high schools, including Capital City Alternative School and the Henley Young Juvenile Justice Center, to provide opportunities for students to stay in school, graduate high school, and be prepared for either college or workforce, all in support of the district goals. The primary focus is to increase academic performance and decrease the high school dropout rate by providing the training needed to encourage students to stay and graduate high school. The administration also requests approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between Jackson Public Schools and the Hinds County Board of Supervisors for the Henley Young Juvenile Justice Center for the provision of educational services to neglected, delinquent, and at-risk students. As required by legislation, educational provisions are required for all compulsory school-age students detained in a youth detention center. The district will provide educational services to include the required 330 instructional minutes as required by MDE for the students during the fiscal year 2022-2023 to all eligible and qualified children and youth involved in the Hinds County Juvenile Justice Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marshall Thomas. Board members, any questions?
I have a question. The Jobs for Mississippi Grads, it's always been in all 7 and Capital
Yes,
City?
ma'am, and at the detention center. We added the detention center, I think, 2 years ago.
Okay. And the dean of students.
Yes, ma'am.
How did that come about? Like in for the one high school?
Well, it's actually available to all of the high schools. It's just that we just have one school that has allocated the funds to support. It is not an additional cost to the district.
It is a reallocated slot that we have, and it was just an assessment that we did at this particular high school, and in order to provide some additional supports around SEL, school culture, and climate, we felt that having a person that specifically supports those initiatives in the schools would be needed. And so we did some research, and we looked at other titles, and the Dean of Student is what flagged as a need or something that could support what we saw in our analysis.
And so let me ask you this, that school or those principals within that school is what requested, or the reallocation of those funds for that particular?
And it's not it doesn't replace an assistant principal. They don't serve in the capacity of an administrator. They only support school and climate efforts, discipline efforts. They work with parents. They work with students around SEL needs and those types of things. But it's not an administrative position where they, suspend or those types of things.
So other schools could
Yes, ma'am.
work their magic on their budget and all and come up with a
Yes, ma'am.
person who would fit this as well. Thank you.
Great.
And as we indicated, board members, we're, as private funds are available, we're, willing to allocate those towards those positions if schools are in a position where they can't make it work at the school. That those dollars are limited, so we can't right now do that for all schools. But certainly, as the data bears out and as we see the team stretched, those are conversations that we'll have with team members. There were just several indicators that just said we needed to do something at Murrah, at the one school, and so we'll be looking at others for other ways to support them.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Marsh-Thomas. Thank you, Dr. Green, as well. Next, board members, we will move on to the request to approve the 16-section lease. And Ms. Purnell will present this along with the request to approve the Educational Data Services Agreement with the Central Access Corporation and the approval of the Fund Accounting System, a data security agreement, and the request to approve the agreement of the software monitoring between Global Payments, which is doing business as Heartland School Solutions in the Jackson Public School District. Mrs. Purnell.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To Board President, Dr. Sivak, board members, Dr. Green, Superintendent, my JPS family and colleagues. First, the administration is requesting the Board of Trustees to approve the lease agreement between Jackson Public School District and Ms. Evelyn Fletcher for 16-section property located at 1955 North Sidewell Road, Jackson, Mississippi, parcel 4851-982-1. The rationale for this is this request has been, will allow the lessee to continue renting the 16-section property located at the above location. One thing I would like to add on that is this is really an easement for Mrs. Fletcher. She has purchased some property that's behind the borderline of Sidewell Middle School, and what she's done is that she's purchased and actually built her home. She's wanted to have a pathway or a driveway to get to her home, and so she's renting it since it's on our property of 16th section to run through her property, and that's the rationale for, behind that. She is requesting a 40-year lease. She also, the lease has been appraised as of May 11, 2022. It has been appraised for $470 per year, and she has already graciously paid that $470 for this year. It will be appraised every 5 years, which the next one will be May of 2027. The next agenda item is the administration is recommending the approval of the Educational Data Services Agreement between Jackson Public School District and Central Access. This is basically our SAM program, Spectra program that we have with our system information system that we have with Central Access, and it's something we are currently using at this point in time. So it's just our agreement for this fiscal year. The next item is the administration has recommended the approval of the fund accounting system data security agreement between Jackson Public Schools and Central Access as well on that one. This one is just our annual contract between our financial system, which is Central Access, and which provides all of our financial systems for the district, which includes our general ledger, our payroll, our human resources, and all of the data that's associated with that. And we're currently using that program. The last item on the agenda for the office of for the business office is the administration is requesting that the board approves the agreement between Heartland School Solutions and Jackson Public School District to allow work to proceed on building the database for the point of sale system. The system will be implemented to monitor the child nutrition point of sale software usage to allow for continuous improvement of the sales process. The work on the database will commence upon the signing of the agreement. Also, the administration is requesting that the board approves this agreement to support an electronic payment system for school payments related to activity fund collections. There will be an opportunity to add more entities within the district if we so desire, or if we feel that it's necessary or applicable for us to do so. The rationale behind this is for the child nutrition is to improve their service, which is related to speed and accuracy of the point of sale that they are just want to implement for all the different schools that they would have, and also to identify all the students who are participating in the breakfast and lunch area, so they can capture all of those. And for us on the business side, it's just to make sure that we have an automated system for our parents to have the option to pay for different services that they would use versus cash related that will be in the buildings. So that's one of the main purposes for that area on that end. And there is no cost to the district for that service. Are there any questions?
Board members, any questions? On the last point about there being no cost to the district, effectively we're passing the transaction fee on to the parents or students or guardians.
Exactly. It's going to the parent exactly on that. That fee is charged to the parent when they use the ACH transaction. Okay.
And that was 4.95%?
It is.
Okay. And from an accounting perspective, so anytime we're collecting money from students, parents, guardians, will there be a record? Is there a way to just, like right now I know there's receipt books, it's cumbersome, but you've got hard checks and balances. I assume there'll be some way for tracking the payments and is it, that's one question. I'll just wait and then I'll ask my last one.
Yes, what we're trying to do with what we will be doing with them, they will be implementing, going into our system, we will be implementing all the information to automate. As you may know, the district has various bank accounts, and each school has their own bank account, which is separate. So what we will do, we're going to link all of those to our, they will be able to use our marathon system. We're going to link all of those in to them, and we're going to get a reporting. So every night we'll know which one goes to which school, so we can make sure that our record base that we will be putting to the general ledger on that. So that's the process that we're getting ready to try to implement once this has been signed, once this agreement has been signed.
Okay. And by electronic payments, are we talking about debit card? Are we talking Cash App? Are all of those going to be available?
I think the debit cards and the Cash App will be available at this point, is what we've been told that they will be able to use in that regards.
Okay.
I'm not sure about
Not sure about Cash App.
cards. ACH, the terms and conditions, they don't mention cash.
Cash app.
That's a question that we would have to ask them, but they have a terms and conditions document specifically for the ACH transaction and then for debit credit cards.
Okay.
And I've noticed that most of the cash apps now, they do like a debit issue on it. Some of them do, so they might not just be a cash app, it says itself, but I've noticed that you can do that transaction as a debit on certain things. So, but you're right, we didn't spell out cash app as a.
They can though. Nobody asked, and the financial lingo wasn't really my forte. I understood ACH debit credit, so we can follow up and find out.
I think it would be worth finding out. Just I know that that's a method of payment within, that is used regularly. All right.
I, for one, am excited at the possibility of doing away with all of the receipt books and cash coming into schools that principals then have to run to banks and all that sort of thing. So.
That's great. Thank you, Ms. Purnell. All right, next we'll invite Dr. Smith to present items R through T. The first is a request to approve an agreement between Wilson Language Training and the Jackson Public School District. The request to approve a rental agreement with the Convention Center, and the request for a renewal agreement with Great Minds in the Jackson Public School District.
Great evening to President Seaback, our board member, Superintendent Green, and to our JPS family. The administration is requesting approval for information and action to approve an agreement between Wilson's Language, our foundations training to administer professional development training to our K-2 teachers for foundational skills to better implement our foundations phonics program. And the second recommendation is for the administration's requesting approval of the agreement between JPS and Jackson Convention Complex to provide a location for our July Institute for our district and school level leaders. And then our last one is administration is requesting approval for the agreement between Jackson Public Schools and Great Minds to conduct ongoing professional development to better implement our Wit and Wisdom curriculum for K-5 teachers.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Board members, are there any questions? Thank you. All right, we are at item U. Dr. Cormack, bring us home on the information action items with the request to approve the engagement between the law office of Ann, is it Wynn, thank you, and the Jackson Public School District.
Absolutely. Good evening to President Zivak, Dr. Green, members of the board, and our JPS community. The administration recommends that the board approve the engagement letter with Immigration Law Office of Annie T. Wynn. She's an immigration attorney that several of our international candidates have collaborated with to support the H-1B visa filing process. These are candidates that have been identified and interviewed to support our critical shortage vacancies in the area of mathematics.
Great, thank you, Dr. Cormack. And it looked like we had 2 potential candidates in this board packet.
There are 2 candidates that have been identified, and that will be supported by Attorney Wynn. And then hopefully we'll have another set of candidates that will be supported by another firm that we'll bring at an upcoming meeting.
Great, thank you.
And again, these fees that are connected with the immigration package are supported through the Hewlett Foundation grant, which is closing out. So this has been a good effort to support math and some science vacancies where we have critical challenges.
Great, thank you, Dr. Cormack. Board members, any questions, comments? All right. With that, we'll take a motion to approve items A through U.
So move. Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved, Ms. Hoder seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? The motion carries. Next, we have our consent agenda item for finance. All of the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously, and we've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any questions? If not, board members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda item for finance?
I so move.
Second?
Ms. Hilliard has moved, Dr. Hairston has seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? The motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda items general. All the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously. We've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda general?
So moved.
Dr. Hairston has moved, Mr. Figurs has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? The motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda item for personnel. All of the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously, and we've had the opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions?
I have a question, Dr. Sivak, and I may have overlooked it, but do we usually have a summary report at the end of this where they would tell us, it's just a summary table of our, each category, our hired and our let go and our whatnot. Am I, or have I not? Have I lost my mind?
I believe there usually is a summary table.
Yeah. Did I overlook it?
I think that, is it specifically around resignations?
Yeah, it was easy to understand, to get in my head what had happened since the last time, rather than me having to look at them. But I was, interested to note the number in each category. But I don't know.
We can bring a summary to you. I don't know why we don't have it here.
Okay, thanks.
I know the team was working up to the last minute.
It's a lot. It's
to
just
add
a
more
lot.
and more.
Yeah, I got you. Well, as long as I'm not crazy, we did used to do that.
Yeah.
So when it comes, it comes. It's not urgent. But I was in the twilight zone there for a minute trying to wrap my head around a summary of what this information was trying to help me understand.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hairston. With that, is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve our consent agenda items personnel.
Second.
Thank you. Dr. Hairston has moved, Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The motion carries. All right, board members, I know we have at least one item to consider for executive session. Is there a motion to close the meeting to consider an executive session?
I so move.
Second?
Mrs. Thompson has moved, Dr. Hairston has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The motion carries. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for all the work that went into getting the docket ready for this evening.